Hi, it's time for another math easy solution. Today we're going to go over another blockchain video, and this time look at part 2 of the big picture, and this time look at tokenization. It's going to be pretty epic stuff. So let's just jump right in, and note, as always, if you don't have time to watch this whole video, you can play this video at a faster speed, and here's my recommendations. And you can also download, read the notes, or read the notes on the Hive blockchain, and the links will be in the description below, as well as in the description I'll include timestamps of all the parts in the description, so you could watch the video in parts if you don't want to watch it all at one go. And yeah, let's just jump right in. And now look at topics to cover. So recap on part 1, introduction to part 2, then we're going to go over technology, directed energy, mind control, collective mind control, then look at trade, barter, money, consensus, trust, and then infrastructure of money, tokenization, then go over to digital tokenization, and then blockchain tokenization, and then to be continued in part 3, architecture of control. That is, yeah, gonna be pretty epic. And I was gonna do it all in this video, but it took it was becoming too extensive just going through all this trade and money talk and so on. So we'll do that in part 3. So anyways, let's jump right in. So recap on part 1. In the earlier parts of my blockchain video series, I had discussed more technical mathematical aspects of blockchain technology, and then transitioned to looking at the quote big picture in my last video. So here is the playlist for my blockchain videos, and there's a short URL, mes.fm/blockchain-playlist. And this was the latest video, was this one here, blockchain, the big picture, part 1, what do you own? So I had to, yeah, and there's earlier videos there as well. But anyways, I had meant to make just one, quote, big picture video, but I felt I need to first illustrate the digital mechanism of, quote, consensus, which is something that we take for granted in the physical world. Quote, consensus is merely a shared belief or agreed upon set of rules, data, information, balances, money, and, quote, value. So yeah, that's all it is, just a shared belief of a set of rules, etc. If we have a piece of paper saying it is worth $100, the only way it is actually worth that much is if others think so too, i.e. we form a consensus as to the value of the piece of paper or piece of information. Thus, value is just information that a consensus or collection of people agree to give relative attributes or magical powers. That is, a piece of paper can be exchanged for a physical house. Fundamentally, value and information are the agreed upon, i.e. consensus, rules of a game, be it poker or Monopoly deal. So yes, if we're playing a Monopoly deal right here, and each bit of information here would be the property, and then they're assigned a dollar value that has, it's all part of the game and how much you can sell for each, and so on. And yeah, it's just all an agreement between the people playing. To know who is winning in the game of life, we need to keep score. That is, we need a, quote, ledger, yeah, or just a record of transactions. If we are playing a board game, we can just agree to all keep track of the score on one piece of paper. So you can just write the score on a piece of paper. If we are playing a game of government quote, fiat money printing to funnel all the world's resources into the hands of a few, then the regulated banking system will maintain score of who has how much money and assets. So this is Monopoly deal. Globally, governments do global Monopoly deal. Now, in the digital world, blockchain technology, or more generally mathematical cryptography, this allows blockchain technology. It allows consensus to be reached without a central bank or authority. Again, using blockchain technology or just generally mathematical cryptography. In this digital world, rules replace rulers, and consensus is made based upon the number of computers that are constantly updating and ensuring their local ledger is the same as the majority of computers in the network. Effectively, the digital ledger can be viewed as being everywhere, since the majority of computers in the network have a copy of the same ledger, and nowhere, since changing any one copy does not directly change the majority. Here's a link to the Hive blockchain for the big picture part 1, so you could go there and watch it. It includes all the notes as well in the in this link. And yeah, so this is from that earlier video from part 1. So here's just a ledger, just a ledger states the transactions. So you have MES cash money 1 million, and you add 100,000, or in this case we just printed it out of thin air because it's my piece of paper. So then there's a house purchase right there, and then the balance goes to 0. Then the house seller's balance increases, etc. So it's just a simple ledger of what happened. And now with blockchain or similar consensus mechanisms, there's a network of computers that all they're trying to do is just maintain this exact copy. So, or have the majority maintaining one copy. So if one of these disappears, it's still there. So in other words, this network is effectively acting as if, or better put, it is effectively upholding one ledger or one set of rules. And this is, or one set of rules of the game of Monopoly or whatever, or one set of governance. So everyone to be part of this network, you got to follow these rules. Otherwise, you're not going to be part of the majority there. And to attack this, you need to obtain a majority of this network. And then similarly, or going further, these digital ledgers can be global in nature because it's just the internet. So you can effectively have many different ledgers or different networks of ledgers that could be borderless or bordered depending on how they want to specify the rules. And effectively they become like countries because you have your own set of rules. In other words, your own set of governance or government. And then they can interact with each other or not, depending again on the network and their wishes, which is pretty fascinating stuff. So let's just jump further. So now introduction to part 2. So the purpose of this video is to take a step back at reality in general, to ponder the usual existential questions. What is going on? Where are we going? What are we? Why do we do the things we do? What are we to do next? Who is directing our lives? Why do we work our entire lives? What are we building? And once again, what is going on? These questions are far too often shelved in the realm of, quote, philosophy and stored away for, quote, academics to explore because, for the most part, it too is their, quote, job. In other words, even the exploration of reality itself is viewed as, quote, work. So yes, philosophy is usually just stored away in some ancient library with books that are hardly read and so on. So anyways, so this is just a photo of some books. Here at MES, these questions are the ultimate tools of exploration and discovery, in which I will use to get to the root of, quote, what is going on. That is the question we should all be striving to answer. So technology. Technology can be viewed as the design of tools for a specific purpose. An earlier example is just a sharp object, i.e. a knife, that can be used to cut objects for many different purposes. So there's a technology. This is primitive, just primitive technology is just a knife. And yeah, you could use it to cut stuff and people and so on. So in modern times, the, quote, smartphone is the tool of choice. So there is, this is technology old, this is not technology new, where you could, this is Samsung Flex. I think it's a prototype where you can wrap it around your hand and so on. So it's like flexible, which is pretty cool stuff. So anyways, if we look beyond the obvious practical uses of such tools, let's ponder the following more, quote, meta questions or just more fundamental questions. So why are these specific tools, specific types of tools made? So why is a knife made? Why is this phone made? Are they truly needed? Could other tools be made to fulfill these same purposes? What was the driving force behind these tools? How were they made? Who made them? Who directed the makers to make them? And why did the makers agree to make them? The last two questions are very intriguing, to say the least. So directed energy. So the knife and the phone are tools that differ in complexity of both creation and utility. The knife could be made by just one person, and its use will always be mainly of the cutting, slashing, robbing, attacking type. The phone, however, requires a lot of computer, electrical, audio, electronic, software, and telecommunications engineers and scientists to design, create, and manufacture. And to make its use complete, an entire ecosystem of internet telecommunications grid must be first constructed. Or here I can just remove the grid just to be grammatically correct. So yeah, so an entire ecosystem of internet telecommunications must be first constructed. So the creation of the knife involved just one person directing their energy. So just so you're directing your energy or focus towards in this case towards sharpening a material for cutting. So there's a knife. You're just sharpening on a piece of stone or a piece of wood, or a piece of rock and so on. And you're going to sharpen, you have a knife. The creation of the phone involved many people directing the energy of many more people over a long period of time to first construct the infrastructure of telecommunications systems or telecommunication systems before even the concept of a phone was, in brackets, publicly conceptualized. So yes, before even people thought about a phone, there needed to be an entire ecosystem that would drive its utility, or just the creation of it. So here's the phone, has many different parts, and built from a lot of different sources, a lot of different areas, different materials, and there is a design team trying to construct, just getting this idea out, and there's Steve Jobs there. So yes, these people are directing the energy of the people that actually make this. So yes, very fascinating stuff. So in this context, quote, energy is the potential to create or manifest change, change environment or personal or anything. And directing energy is the literal directing of change itself. So now let's look at mind control. So in creating a knife, one can simply direct their mental and physical energy towards changing a piece of stone by sharpening it against another stone, and then inserting it into a softer material as a handle. In this case, the tool of directing change upon physical objects to produce a knife is mainly the individual mental intellect, or individual's mental intellect, is apostrophe S, which directs the physical body to cause change to the physical objects. So the mind envisions and directs the body to create. So this is the mind control. So I got some next level image there of mind over body, or mind-body merger. And then there's a knife. So you have it in your thought, and now you're going to move mountains and the earth just to make it. So the example of creating the individual knife involved the individual mind controlling the individual body. So just individual mind control. But the case of the complex phone requires the control of many minds to be lockstep in their pursuits of a singular goal, which is to create a pocket-sized supercomputer that can communicate to anyone around the world. So yes, a phone requires lots of minds being controlled in lockstep. So this concept of, quote, collective mind control in directing a vast amount of people to produce a specific object is the same that produced ancient giant sandcastles. So there's pyramids and the Sphinx and so on. Just interesting stuff. So now let's look at collective mind control. So an individual that has control of their own mind can freely direct their body to create a simple object like a knife. If, however, that person wants someone else to make them a knife, then they either ask nicely, offer a trade, or, quote, mind control them to create it for them. So there's some mind control. You could tell someone, make me a knife, and they'd be like, yes, sir. So yes, at first glance, only the first two scenarios seem plausible. That is, just ask nicely or offer a trade, while this mind control seems a bit out there. Yeah, so it seems plausible, but the last one seems like magic, or bracket, or suppressed technology. But is it really? Do you work for someone? Do you work or do you produce products for them in exchange for a few numbers to be incremented in your bank account? Do you produce knives at a knife factory just to pay the bills? Yeah, it would be interesting if anyone actually here does. Fundamentally, each scenario is a, quote, trade, including the exchange of a, quote, nice request for a knife. So there's a trade. I'm going to give you a nice request. You give me that knife. Scaling this up so that we control many people to produce many knives requires exchanging, quote, something that many people would want to exchange their mental and physical energy for. So yes, a nice request is not going to do it with a lot of people. And so there's something. So I'm going to give them something, they're going to give me a bunch of knives. So that's what is this something? How can we get these people to make these knives? Similarly, we need to offer, quote, something to many people to get our phones made. So there's something we're going to offer to all these people to get them working on our phones, and especially manufacturing a lot of phones. Likewise, something needs to be offered to get modern giant steel reinforced sandcastles made. So skyscrapers also, it's giant castles, but with steel now. So something, we need to give something so people go and labor outside and build these giant obelisks or skyscrapers. Same thing with speeding up and colliding particles together. So we got to give something to these people working at the CERN, Large Hadron Collider, and so on, these particle accelerators. So we got to give something to a bunch of these people, and especially getting these people that own the houses and land there to allow these people that we're giving something, and then these people, we got to give them something to allow for the land, and so that they can build this giant, super complex particle accelerator and so on with a million magnets and electronics. All right, going further, we also need right over here. Likewise, something's got to give to create a giant, highly polluting firecracker launched. So yes, you gotta give something to get this made. And to get the world sitting in cubes 6 feet across, socially distanced, also requires something. So we gotta give something to these people to sit in these cubes. Yeah, those cubes are cubicles. So turning humans into mindless killing machines also requires something. So this is a Chinese army, but yes, but they're also. So yes, MES advice, don't join the military. Anyways, and weaponizing space with directed energy weapons also requires a whole lot of this magical world controlling quote something. So yes, now they got space satellites with shooting lasers and so on. So again, something had to be exchanged for this to be made, and that's fascinating stuff. So now let's look at trade. So in all of the above illustrations of collective mind control, there was, quote, something that each individual agreed to trade their mind and body for. What is this, quote, something? The basic need for trade is the basic needs of life, that is food, shelter, sanitation, and so on. Yeah, so in a world of one person, this can be met by, quote, trading one's mental and physical energy directly into providing for the basic needs. So here's just building a mud hut or a little house. Yeah, this is a primitive technology YouTube channel. It's pretty fascinating. So this guy does everything on his own. He even has a little chimney or fireplace. Yeah, so going further, so in a world of more than one person, then one can meet their basic needs indirectly by trading something of value to other people. So the amount of mental or physical labor that an individual can produce is dependent on the amount of time they have available and the available skills they have or are willing to develop. Someone that has developed the skills of creating a mud hut can rent it out or create a new one in exchange for a stockpile of food, which was gathered by someone that likewise had focused their time on developing their food gathering skills. So there's a guy makes a mud hut. This person gathered a bunch of apples, so we could do a change or a trade. You can either rent this mud hut or buy it, depending on how much apples you're trading. Yeah, so trade allows each individual to specialize and focus on one particular task, and then trade what they have for what they don't have. So we can organize and compare the two types of trade in the flowchart below. So level 0 trade is just manufacturing. So individual goes to effort and goes to object. And here's a link to the Excel you could download and see the full list. And now here's level 1 trade. So level 0 trade is pretty much just basic effort to object. But now we're actually trading objects. So now level 1 trade is just barter. So barter is just you have individual puts effort and creates object here. Yeah, actually, here I should quickly just pause and change this up. So I put individual 1, individual 2. Yeah, so I just forgot to put the numbers there. So anyway, so individual 1 puts an effort to create object 1, so puts in level 0 trade or manufacturing, so just manufactures it. Object 1, and then individual 2 puts an effort to create object 2, and now these two just swap and trade. So now you have barter. So this person wants to trade for this person's object, this one wants to trade for that. So visually, the level 1 trade can be viewed as, or a level 0 trade. Initially I had it at level 1 too. I'll call it. So visually, the level 0 trade can be viewed as manufacturing an object directly, while the level 1 trade is an indirect obtainment of another object through, quote, barter, that is trade without money. So that's just what barter is just is trade. Yeah, there's no money involved. You just switch one object for another. Yeah, so this is a key in understanding the economics of life. So this direct manufacturing versus indirect obtainment or indirect using trade. So yes, you can get this object directly, or you can get this object here, go from here to here. So yeah, this is an indirect obtainment of this one by creating this object. So yes, fascinating stuff. Alright, so let's go further into barter. So the direct trade or barter of an object directly produced to obtain the object someone else, or to obtain a object someone else produced, is a mechanism of obtaining something that individual efforts alone could not achieve. So you're basically doing effort to one thing, and you get this other one over there that you may not have been able to make by yourself. So the issue, however, of trading one object for another is that individuals may only want to trade for some objects and not others. That is an individual may be only willing to trade their mud hut for oranges and not apples. So you'll have this scenario. This person builds this mud hut, wants to sell it for oranges but not apples, but this person only has apples. So now you have an issue there. Yeah, so in this case, the apple seller could increase the amount of apples they're willing to sell or look for another mud hutter. Hopefully you enjoy my examples. Likewise, if there are no orange sellers around, the mud hutter now has the disadvantage of either accepting the apples or searching for an orange seller. So basically, the onus is on the individuals themselves to find the adequate trade that they want to do. Note again that for all the individuals involved, they are pursuing an indirect or quote abstract mechanism of obtainment. So here's abstraction 1. So just to show the separation between what the effort they put in and also the desired object. So there's so barter involves individual 1 puts an effort and then produces mud hut, but then they want this one over there. So you're adding an indirect path. So you create this one. So you add this. This is the indirect or abstract path over here. Then individual 2 puts an effort, creates apples, and then wants the mud hut. This individual 3 puts an effort, creates orange or finds the oranges or even grows them or whatnot, and then wants the mud hut. So basically, there is this abstract indirect path to get to there. Yes, versus a direct path would have been just straight effort to the stuff that they want, which you put an effort, get over here. So each individual is putting effort directly into producing something they don't want, which is this category, to obtain something indirectly that they do want. Thus, trade has effectively added separation between the effort put in and the objects obtained. The main issue of bartering is that individuals require, let's fix that up. So individuals require planning out who and what they can trade for before putting any effort into producing their specific objects. And things can get complicated really quick as everyone tries to mix and match and weigh the available options. So if you're building a phone, or this person's selling apples, or you're making apples or mud hut or a knife, etc. Now you want to know how much you're going to trade or to who. So you're going to be thinking about a whole lot of different scenarios because because you may want something now, may want it later, and you're not sure exactly what you want at any given time. So to address this unorganized issue of bartering, we can add yet another abstraction to the obtainment of desired objects, and that is the concept of money. So yes, this is the barter. It's going to be just all over the place. Money. So instead of each individual bartering to each other, remove that over there. So instead of each individual bartering to each other in hopes of securing a desired trade, this process can be more organized if the individuals could agree upon a mechanism of, quote, capturing or, quote, tokenizing the, quote, value of each object. That is, instead of trading object to object, each object first gets traded or converted into a token that represents its relative value, and then this token can be traded directly for other objects. This quote token is just an agreed upon object called, quote, money, and serves as a medium of exchange, that facilitates trade between objects. So now here's our abstraction chart. So we're going to go abstraction 2. This is level 2. Level 1 was barter. This is level 2 is money. So now basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to have individual 1 puts an effort, creates a mud hut, and then converts that into money or sells it for money, and then with that money can buy oranges. So now you have an even further separation. So these two are both separations. Now you have two indirect paths or two indirect separations before getting the desired objects. And each individual puts an effort to build. You have to create the apples, oranges, etc. Then they convert to money, and then they can buy their mud hut, etc. Yeah, so thus the concept of money is just a further abstraction from the individual effort to the desired object. And we can see this abstraction further separation through our trade flow chart. And here I'm going to write this as level 2 trade, and this is going to be money. So now what we have is we have individual 1 puts an effort, creates object 1 as per usual. It's just manufacturing. And now instead of trading for the object, that individual 2 puts an effort to create object 2. They both exchange for money, and then they can buy or trade that money for the other objects that they want. So the abstraction of money directs the energy of each individual towards the obtainment of money first and foremost, since it can then be traded for any desired objects. So yes, now the person's building this mud hut strictly for money. So money is there in between the objects that they want, even though they want other objects, but now the focus is on the money, which can get other objects. So our previous unorganized barter trade chart can now be replaced with a more organized and simpler money trade chart. So now you have here, cash money with some tacos and nacho chips. Yeah, Yeah, not tacos. Yeah, nacho chips there, some dip, and so on. So you have, and some salsa. So you basically have the Mud Hut phone, you got the apples, you got the knife, and then oranges. Everyone producing these strictly to get this money because they can trade for these whenever they want. So they also have the benefit of time. So you don't need to actually get the object right away. You can just hold this stack up as money as you can. Yeah, and the amount of money for each object depends on the basic economics 101 concepts of supply and demand. So basically, if you have the price quantity, and now if you have a high supply and you have a high price there, demand's going to be low, so the price is going to push it downwards. And then if you have a low quantity, but the price is low, the demand's going to push that price higher up. And then there's going to be an equilibrium point where everything matches quantity. Price is going to be static here for supply and demand. So that's going to be your sweet spot. Yeah, where you're not pressured to change the price. All right, so going further. So in order for this abstraction of money to serve its purpose as a facilitator of the exchange of objects, everyone involved must be in agreement as to what constitutes money. In other words, there needs to be a consensus. Yes, so now let's discuss consensus. So the abstraction of money is just that, an abstraction, a shared belief that a specific object or token can be exchanged for another object. Quite literally, the concept of money used in the financial world is fundamentally the same as that in a board game such as Monopoly Deal. So you have Monopoly Deal, there's your money there, you could exchange this for these properties and whatnot. And you could pay rent with it. So this is, and this is agreed upon, that everyone playing Monopoly Deal agrees that this is money. So each board game has its own set of rules that each person has to agree upon. Otherwise, there would be no game and certainly no trust in a token used for money. That is, we revert back to barter, and people just try to say, okay, I'll give you this property for that, and then other ones will say, I'll give you this one for that. So if there is no money involved, you would have to talk to each individual directly and set up an agreement for trade. So this collective agreement, or quote consensus in the rules of the game and a specified tokens of money, requires trust that the rules are being followed. So yes, there is the trust. So let's go over this concept of trust. So from our earlier starting point of individual effort to produce a desired object to barter, and now to quote tokenizing the quote value of objects into quote money, we have transferred, we have traversed from simple object creation to now designing an efficient system for general object exchange, as well as creation there. Yeah, so just creating objects is just you're just creating an object, just manufacturing, and now we need to find an efficient system like a Monopoly Deal system to enable for general object exchange and creation. Well, that is actually an indirect consequence of that, because now everyone could just focus on getting money so they can build whatever they want to do. So you want to get money so you can just build whatever that your people are willing to trade money for. So you don't need to go direct trade apples for oranges. All right, let's keep going further. So to facilitate our abstract collective belief in the concept of money in our board game of life, each individual needs to trust that no one is cheating, such as by counterfeiting money, or in the case of digital banking, that the bank is properly keeping track of all transactions. So yes, we need to trust that all the transactions are accurate and no one's just printing money digitally or playing with the numbers and or counterfeiting money, etc. Yeah, in simple terms, we need to ensure that a proper scorecard is kept of all money transactions, so that the rules of the game are followed and the flow of money is known for the proper supply / demand or supply / demand economics of trade to operate. So so we need to know how much money is around. To be able to properly price things, because money, the value is actually is all just relative to how much money is available. If there's only a tiny bit of money available, everything's gonna be expensive. If there's a lot, everything's gonna be cheap. So in the typical centralized trust mechanism, trust is placed into institutions, that is, onto a specific collection of people. So there's Federal Reserve, U.S. Central Bank there. Now we have this just RBC, a physical bank that people trust with their money. And now there's the Lizard Queen. Just looking at all this stockpile of gold, because yes, people trust the institutions over there as well. So anyways, in the digital cryptography world, trust is moved towards a collection of decentralized computers, again this is from part 1, that follow a specific set of rules that ensure a consensus of one ledger is maintained. So this is trust is basically you're trusting people like her and institutions like Federal Reserve. That's what you'd be trusting for the conventional money schemes. But now the decentralized world, you're going to be trusting a bunch of computers to maintain a specific ledger or a record of transactions that are made on that ledger, and basically keeps track of all the money involved there. That's how it is. So the notion of decentralized trust should not be understated in importance and the magnitude of scale, which is why I dedicated part 1 to elaborating on this concept. So this decentralized trust. If any one of these computers go out of service, it's still going to be maintain its overall consensus, because as long as the majority are running. All right, so let's keep going further. So infrastructure of money. So since money is an abstraction, it is not, quote, real in the same sense that an ordinary object is. For example, a crowbar is a crowbar regardless of whether you believe it or not. So if you believe this or not, it's still a crowbar. It can still smash things. So, but money requires belief to, quote, exist. And if you don't, quote, believe in a specific currency, such as the Vietnamese dong, then you don't have to accept it. Others may still accept it, but you don't have to. So you don't have to believe in it. So you can be like, I'm not trading my car for a bunch of dong. So the current dominant world currency is the United States dollar, or USD, simply because more people believe in it than they do other currencies. The reason that the USD maintains a strong belief in it is because it has the biggest, most robust, and secure, quote, infrastructure that ensures trust and belief is maintained. So it's like a cycle there. The United States also has a giant military, quote, defense budget to ensure the rest of the world believes in the USD or else. So there's this is from, I think, let's see what this one is. The numbers are from October 1st, 2017 through September 30th, 2018, so 1 year. 2018 calendar year, and it shows the U.S. Military budget. So 649 billion. I think it's near $1 trillion by now, and it's more than the combined of China, Saudi Arabia, India, Russia, UK, Germany. This is the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 countries, and it's more than all with 40 billion and change. So yes, fascinating stuff. Yeah, so basically if you're a sovereign country and you decide to use your own currency and not the USD, US dollar to buy oil especially, US will come knocking by. Because again, they got to maintain belief in the USD. All right, let's go further. So the infrastructure is all the institutions, people, and technology in place to ensure money flows securely from point A to point B. In a typical poker game, the infrastructure of money is a responsibility of the dealer for ensuring enough poker chips or tokens of money are always available and that all players are following the rules of the game. So this is the infrastructure. This is basic infrastructure of a poker game. He's responsible mainly, but everyone else can be self-policing as well. And then but the final say is going to be the dealer. And there's the money that he just prints or just hands out. So in the financial world, infrastructure involves governments and central banks printing money and loaning out to banks, which then loan out to the public at increasing interest rates. So the central bank prints money, gives to commercial banks, so they would give them at this interest rate. Now it's a bit whack. I think it's like negative in some places. So then the banks will pay them to hold it, which is interesting. So anyway, so they would print money, give it to them, and they would have to pay back 2.25% interest, for example. And then these people will loan out, for example, houses at 3%, and so on. And then everyone is just collecting interest, and it just funnels all back to the central bank. And this infrastructure of money, quote, printing requires literally printing money. So here's an example of a printing press or printing machine. So there's a whole lot of cash, there's a whole lot of ones there. Further infrastructure is required for spotting and removing counterfeit money. So here's an example. Look at his eyebrow versus this one. So that's a real one, and this one's a fake one. But yeah, some of them can look very real. So for banks to store large amounts of money, they would also need to build secure vaults. So such as this one is absolutely massive vault there. And to enforce the rules of the game, an entire infrastructure of prisons or, quote, internment camps are also required. This is Guantanamo Bay. So yes, this is this is usual torture that the world just bats a blind eye to. So in other words, the simple concept of money requires an entire system of governance to be first constructed. So you need to construct a giant government just to maintain the simple concept of money. So lightning strike. So there's the Washington Monument, there's the White House, and yeah, so fascinating stuff. Actually, no, this is not the White House. This is the Lincoln Memorial. So yes, got it a bit mixed up. But anyways, it's still adequate. It's still Washington D.C. This is just I can find a better photo than this one with the lightning and so on. So that's Lincoln Memorial, not the White House. So anyways, going further, so infrastructure of symbology is also required to ensure all governments are in sync with each other. So Again, Washington D.C. has the most symbolism. This is the White House over there at the bottom of this pentagram there, with the roads match up like that, and then also there's a giant pyramid with a giant owl there, a literal owl. And there's the Washington Monument inside here, inside a MasterCard logo, like that, or Pisces logo. Yeah, let's just draw this actually in yellow, like that. Oh, that's green. Yeah, actually, yeah, I thought it was yellow. Okay, anyways, so now I have it better in yellow, like that, and there's the big giant all books right in between them. Anyways, so yes, infrastructure of symbology, governance, and prison systems, and security, vaults, etc., storage is all required, and also an infrastructure of ritual is also required to form and maintain a cohesive bond between government leaders. So now you got the Bohemian Grove and a giant, quote, mock human sacrifice. It's an actual real photo. But anyways, that's a giant owl. So going further, now let's look at the concept of tokenization, which is money. Is pretty much, money is one form of it. So the simple concept of money requires a complex infrastructure to uphold the trust, security, and belief in the tokens that are considered quote, money. These tokens are objects whose sole purpose is to represent other objects, and the process by which we can turn objects into tokens may be called, quote, representationizing. So I just made up these words. Or abstractification, another word I made up. Or, quote, tokenization, which is more common. And I didn't make that up. So the physical infrastructure can be visualized as a food grinder or, quote, object tokenizer that abstractly turns goods and services into tokens. So you get goods and services. For example, there's a mud hut and also the constructing of the mud hut. And there's apples, oranges. You got your phone, this slick curved phone, or bent flexible phone, and then you got your knife, and there's the infrastructure where it's going to be considered as a tokenizer or a grinder or object tokenizer. So you grind this out, and then what forms out is money and other tokens of money. So you have, these are gold coins or just coins, and then you have this one is the a Vatican coin, and it has 3 stars there, each with 6 each with 6 points. In other words, 666. Anyways, I'm just putting in some Easter eggs inside of these, or this video. It's interesting stuff. So anyways, there's the tokenizer. So you take objects, goods, and services, and then you, with this infrastructure that's constructed, money printing and security and prisons, etc., and the whole financial system, grind these out into these tokens of money. So these are tokens to represent these goods and services. So this exact process of tokenization can continue as far as the human imagination can take it, since after all, it is an abstraction or idea agreed upon to represent other objects of physical existence. Tokenization allows large objects such as a house to be abstractly condensed. I just added this, to be abstractly condensed into a small pile of cash or several wheelbarrows of coins. So yes, you would take this house, and then you combine them and you would condense it into a pile of cash, or just a few cash, or a whole bunch of coins, as in this example. So some of these tokens are inconvenient for most purchases, such as paying a fine with pennies. So this person man pays nearly $30,000 bill using a wheelbarrow full of pennies. It's pretty interesting. So man took revenge on his local Department of Motor Vehicles by paying a hefty bill using 5 wheelbarrows filled with 300,000 pennies. Nick Stafford used the change to pay an auto sales tax bill for $2,987.45. Employees at the DMV office were forced to count each penny by hand to confirm they totaled the right amount, which they did. He said the pennies were payback for a dispute he had been having with the DMV. So that's fascinating stuff. So yes, he forced them to all count there, and how it is in the U.S. elections right now. That everybody's recounting everything. So anyways. One way of overcoming this inconvenience is to include tokens of higher value, such as large numbered banknotes. So yeah, so you can overcome this. Instead of this, you can have a giant piece of paper that says, here's $1 million. So yes, a banknote like that. So this is $1 million. This is just a fake one, but it's just an idea that this is a Bank of Millionaires token one. So yes, you can condense a whole lot of the value into a higher value token like this. The main issue with large banknotes is that the risk of counterfeit outweighs the convenience. That is, no one will sell their house for $1 million bill. So no one's going to sell for this because they have to confirm it's real, and also it's you might get ripped or lost or stolen or whatnot. So no one's going to trade for this one. especially with no insurance. Another way of condensing large values by using specific objects whose portability makes it convenient to use as cash directly. Such examples include naturally rare metals such as gold and silver. So you have gold, like this is 1 kilo of 1 kilo gold. It's about $60,000. So this is a whole lot of this is over $100,000. This is almost like $200,000 just in this person's hands. So gold is currently trading at 60,000 plus USD for 1 kilogram or 1 kilo of gold. And silver, for example, here this is 1 kilo of silver in their hand. Like that's 1,000 grams or 1 kilogram. Silver is currently trading at $800 plus USD for 1 kilogram. So that's $800 right there. This is 60,000 just in your little hand, like that. And silver and gold have the property of money in that they, quote, represent a large value in a condensed, quote, token form. But this value is not just a representation, but the actual value it is being traded at. So this is actually being traded at that price. So it's not like it's saying that this is worth that much. This is what people are actually trading for. But holding on to rare metals has the same security issues as holding large banknotes or holding large amounts of cash in general, namely risks of counterfeit and theft. Banks and other large companies can afford to store large amounts of gold and cash, but the average local retail store can't, and nor would they want to, since then they would have to trade it for cash if they were to spend it. So another issue is the need for many relatively small payments, such as purchasing a pack of gum that would require to break up the gold bar into fine dust to get the equivalent value, or request 59,999 USD in change if you were to pay with a whole gold bar or whole 1 kilogram gold bar like that. So this person's buying gum right here, and then it pays with the gold bar, and then cashier refunds 59,999, and it's 59 in a bag of cash. So this scenario is not going to happen yet, maybe. So remember, if you can imagine it, you can create it. So instead of using an object that has value of its own as money, i.e. gold, a more logical approach is to keep taking the path of abstractions and tokenize our tokens of money. So we can tokenize the tokens, the already tokens. So we're just going to go further abstract, path or indirect path of obtaining the objects that we do want. So this is, quote, logical because we already have the infrastructure of money and trust. Yeah, money and trust is one and the same, already built into place, thus we can add yet another layer of, quote, trust. One such way is by using a, quote, check, or check, depending on where you are, how it's spelled. I've been using this forever, which is merely a piece of paper issued by our trusted bank to allow us to pay others by simply writing how much we would like to pay. So this is an actual check to Floyd Mayweather, the boxer, for $100 million. Unreal. So in such a case, we have to trust that our bank has these amounts specified on the check, and others have to trust that they can indeed exchange a check for cash at their trusted bank. So you also have to trust that this is actually a legit check, this is a legit person. And now we're just adding more trust so that the banks can trust each other, and the person that we're giving our check to can trust that they can actually exchange it for cash. So updating our abstraction table, we now have to add several more steps or abstractions between the individual effort and the desired object. So here's abstraction level 3 check. So we have individual effort, goes into individual 1, puts effort, gets the mud hut, so that's the object that they don't want, but then they exchange it for money, then they put the money in the bank, so bank 1, and then they get a check. And then that check you can go and pay for oranges. So now we have 4 levels before we get to the desired object there. So 4 levels of abstraction or indirect path to it. And our corresponding trade flow chart, make this a bit bigger. Yeah, so our corresponding trade level flow chart now has a lot more parts. So we have level 3 trade, which is check. So individual 1 puts into effort and creates object 1. Individual 2 puts in effort, creates object 2. They both trade for money. They both put in their bank, so both need banks for checks. You have to be able to deposit and so on. And then so they get the check like that. Object 2 goes to money. This is just general 1. And then puts into bank 2. And then but the individual 1 puts their money into bank 1. And then they exchange a check and then between the banks. And then they get to their object. Yeah, so now we have a giant middleman there, a giant path between. So we're effectively building complex contraptions to facilitate a simple trade between individuals that don't trust each other. So these are or just inconvenient to trust each other, or they're just far away, or whatnot. So because remember, all we want to do is exchange this object 1 for object 2. But now we're doing a complex mechanism for that. And for example, this one is a self-operating napkin. So here spilled it on his chin or whatever, and then he pulls a lever, and then this throws a bread up here. You got a bird that eats it, and then this lifts up and does some magic stuff here. It keeps going on, and all of a sudden it shakes his clock or alarm clock, and then it wipes it. And that's pretty much what we are doing right here. So this lack of trust among humanity or amongst humanity is the driving force between all of life's contraptions, especially the inevitable, excuse my pronunciation, concept of taxation, which follows directly from the concept of money. So now this is a contraption that you do not want to see. This is federal tax regulations. This is 5 volumes. 5 volumes of contraptions that serve to entrap reality. This is not reality, but this is real. Like, that's a contraption. So this contraption is infinitely more complex than this one. So anyways, keep going further. So going back to the concept of checks, practically this is just about as far as the abstraction of money can be taken when speaking in purely physical terms. To go above and beyond simple pieces of paper, we need to go digital. So I'm just gonna proofing, add to dictionary. Yeah, so to go even beyond checks, we need to go digital right here. Here's an Oculus 3D with a brain, neural brain scan connecting to this, and he's controlling this computer screen with his brain. Welcome to the Matrix. So anyways, digital tokenization. So the infrastructure of the internet has allowed for the inevitable digital tokenization of money. The internet and telecommunications in general, is the literal transfer of light, or more generally electromagnetic radiation, or more accurately ether sound propagation. The world is wrapped in endless fiber optic cables that extend across oceans. So here's an illustration there. This is a bunch of installing cables in the deep sea ocean. Now you have a whole bunch connected across the entire world, so all connected with wires. The Earth is also being more and more engulfed with satellites to allow for wireless telecommunications. Here's a artist illustration of how much the satellites that are on there. A lot of them are just unused or stopped working. But anyways, just an illustration. So you got all around the world, and you got all underneath all underneath the water. There. So it's fascinating stuff. So everything is going to be super quick communications remotely through cables, through radio transmission, and so on. So this infrastructure allows for tokenizing money as just digital numbers in a bank account. This type of digital tokenization requires entrusting our money to a bank and then trusting that the bank accurately keeps track of our money by maintaining the corresponding digital numbers on our bank account. Yeah, so this is one way of looking at it. So you have a bank vault, you put all the cash and money inside, and then they just digital tokenization, just a little computer that has the amounts on the accounts. They just say, okay, this equals how much is in the account, and so on. So that's just digital tokenization. So we just take the money, which is already a token, and put it into the bank, and then they just give you a number that's another token to represent the money that you have there. This is fundamentally the same concept as with checks, since both involve depositing money to a bank, but with digital communications, no physical checks are necessary. So yeah, so you have this right here, so you don't need to use checks, you can just go digital trade. No checks needed to transfer from this bank account to someone else's bank account, the phone or whatnot. You're using a phone or any device that connects to the internet. So our abstraction and trade flow charts now involve replacing checks with the let's fix that up. Checks with the quote internet. So now we have abstraction 4, and this is going to be the next step of abstraction. Digital bank account. So we have individual 1 puts in effort, creates a mud hut, and then trades it for money, puts into the bank, and then somehow the internet. there's a transaction using the internet. Transacts that numbers in the bank account to the bank X right there, and then gets the oranges. And likewise, individual 2 puts into effort apples, money, bank 2, and then internet, and it goes to bank Y, gets a mud hut, etc. So basically, this one's replacing. Yeah, this replaces a check, and now we also have to include the bank that we're sending the check to. And now going further to look at our level 4 trade charts, a digital bank account. So we have individual 1 goes to effort, goes to object 1, and then goes to money, goes to bank 1. And then there's the internet that serves as the intermediary between the banks. So we exchange from the internet, and it's the same thing. Before it was a check, now it's the internet. Now there's bank 2, there's money. So this one goes in across like that. So yes, fascinating stuff. So the quote internet represents any application or mechanism for communication via the internet and general telecommunications infrastructure. Telecommunications just means remote, just using electromagnetic radiation or other mechanisms. And remember, electromagnetic radiation is just light. Everything is just light. So the simplest mechanism is a simple e-transfer. The simplest mechanism is an e-transfer. Right, simple is an email e-transfer. So you have right here, send it through an email. So Jessica wants to send you $10, deposit your money, etc. The more common mechanism is using a debit and credit card to serve as physical identification of your online bank account. So you could have your online bank account verification through this and with your passwords or PIN, which can then be processed by merchants, and then you could just go and pay directly. There's a Japanese, I think, yeah, this is Japanese, this iPad. So you can go use this, and then they'll know that, okay, this is your bank account, and now you can go transfer it using the internet. So even physical checks can be deposited through the internet, because, yeah, so that phrase internet could be just anything that connects to it. So the internet represents any application or mechanism. And you could still use checks as well. So the new technology absorbs even the old. So you could take a photo of that check and then you send it through the internet. Now you can have that verified. And yeah, fascinating stuff. So the internet speeds up the rate of communications between banks. That is, an email replaces the physical hand-delivered check, but the speed of money flow has not directly changed. This is mainly because multiple intermediaries or quote middlemen have to audit and ensure all trade is tracked and following government regulations. Not to mention that any physical money exchange between banks aren't sped up either. Yeah, because remember, the banks still have, if they have money stored, if they don't want to exchange it, they still need to do it physically. So even then, they're not, it's not going to be, yeah, they're not sped up. Even though you have the internet, all you're doing is communicating quicker, but you still got to move stuff around. And so here's an illustration. This one is a clearinghouse. This is from this company right here, Bank Giro. And clearinghouse is just again just a middleman. So there's the payer, there's payee. So you paid $10 or with a card or whatnot. Yeah, actually, yeah, this is a bad example. It should have been like a credit card, but yeah, you pay a credit card, $10, or just a debit card, or even a check, and then the pay. Then what clearinghouse does, or what the banks do, is they automatically just change the balance, so that the banks know that this person added $10. This person would minus $10 like that. So you take the plus, move it over to this side. Minus goes to this side. So the banks, the banks automatically adjust their balances. So then these people think they've paid, but then they get their objects. But then in the behind the scenes, the clearinghouse communicates with the bank, with both banks, and they have to go check. So the clearinghouse has to go and settle with the central bank and the government. So they got to go check all the regulations, and they got to check who's sending it to who, how they're sending it, and then officially mark the date that they're settled. This is confirmed, and then goes to the bank saying this is all fine. This person isn't a suspected quote extremist, and so on. So they also do background checks and so on, and it might take days or even weeks, depending on how much money is being sent or how big the companies are. And if they're sending a lot of money, it might even take months. So banks give the end users the illusion of quick payments by updating their bank balances in real time and then auditing the payment at a later time. So don't be surprised if your payment was later found incomplete 3 months later because the merchant was deemed to have tweeted, quote, extremist thoughts. Yep. So yes, that may happen. So anyways, to truly speed up banking, we need to remove the need for traditional physical banks, and one such way is with blockchain technology. Again, now we're going to the last part of this video, blockchain tokenization. So a typical quote bank is just an institution that we trust to maintain a ledger or balance of all of our financial transactions. So a bank is just a ledger. All it is keeping your money in there. That's their goal, is to maintain this balance. The physical bank needs physical security, so you have physical security to make sure everyone's following the rules and not doing anything illegal. Or semi-physical internet-controlled holographic security. So now they have this apparently. I think this is Japan. Yeah, this is Japan right there. So there's a digital holographic security guard that's it's like that, and you can interact with them, and he views people like Terminator. The Terminator through the internet, so there's security guards watching him like that, and then you can also apprehend or tell people to come and apprehend whoever's doing illegal stuff. So the transition to digital bank accounts requires digital security. So now you also have your laptop secured from password hacking and whatnot. And to prove who you are in the digital world, be prepared to answer a lot of security questions. Because you answer who was the first, what was the first car you owned, who was your first teacher, etc. So you can have a whole lot of security checks to make sure that you are the person you say you are. Remember, we're going to a digital world where they can't see you physically. So in the physical world, the security required is relatively basic because there are only a few ways of entering, and thus just a few doors to provide security for. So here's the bank. They could view this as, the bank is just a ledger, and there's this doors that you have to, there's only a few, there's front door, back door, etc. that you have to provide security for. There's only a few entry points. But once the bank goes digital and connects to the internet, they then become a mere fish in a giant interconnected sea of billions of computers. So now once you connect to the internet, now you have a million different ways of getting on board of this bank. Especially when there's money there, it's pretty much like bait, where everybody's trying to hack everybody else. Thus, anyone from anywhere is just a few clicks away from hacking into the bank's online accounts. And to mitigate against this widespread threat, banks build a network of trusted banks and institutions, which is akin to a closed, private, permissioned internet. And they're only going to be dealing with those banks, and they don't want to deal with everybody else. So they're only going to require is someone has to be from XYZ bank or institution or country. Banks also have to follow local government laws and regulations, which further restrict whom they can operate with, and sometimes purely for political purposes. For example, Bank of America would usually do business with Barclays. This is UK, so Bank of America with UK, but then this is in China, Bank of Jinzhou. And so they would not be interacting with that. So even though the internet here is connected to the entire world, these ones are going to be forced to interact with specific banks only and not others, or not other countries and so on. So they're purposely limiting themselves for, again, government laws, political, just politics, and also just to just for security purposes, because you don't want to be you don't want to be allowing anyone to go and connect, especially when you're a centralized entity like a bank. Thus, even though the internet is light speed fast and generally borderless, banks are still forced to slow down and limit themselves down for security and regulatory purposes. To speed up traditional banking, the logical step would be to not just use the internet but merge directly with it, so that you're one with it. Because remember, the internet is considered secure because nobody's actually able to hack it, because it's everywhere. It's everywhere, and every single person is connecting with it, and there's a lot of different networks of security and so on, in which if you were to hack specific portions of it, doesn't mean the whole internet's going to be shut down or whatnot. So anyways, going further, so this is the basis of blockchain technology discussed in part 1. So this is merging with internet right there. So a bank is fundamentally just a ledger of transactions, thus we can focus instead on the ledger itself and forget about the bank. So there's a ledger. Remember, bank is a ledger, so a record of transactions. So this is that. We're just going to remove this. Remove the bank, keep the ledger. So here's the ledgers. MES cash money is just the balances. You buy a house and update the balance for the house seller and so on. So now we just need a consensus of computers in a network to copy, update, and maintain an exact copy of the ledger. So now we're going to have just a giant network. So now this is remember, the network is already internet, is just a network of networks. So now we have our specific network on the internet. So we're merging with it. That all they're trying to do is just maintain one specific ledger. So there's a million copies everywhere, but they're all, the majority is going to be the same. In other words, the consensus is going to be the same. That's the goal. So digital consensus was first formed through the Bitcoin blockchain and combines the mathematics of cryptography with the communications network of the internet to follow a rule-based approach to ensure the network is incentivized to maintain one single ledger. So yes, the whole goal is to maintain one ledger. Thus, our blockchain ledger or similar consensus or other similar consensus mechanisms can be viewed as a single ledger or record of events, but maintained by a network of computers. So yes, this entire system can be viewed as a network with just one underlying ledger that all they're doing is trying to upkeep as the same copy, or a majority of them upkeeping the same one. So unlike traditional centralized banking, the decentralized nature of the blockchain network means that if any one computer is compromised, the network can just recalculate consensus and continue without stopping a beat. Blockchain and similar consensus technologies represent a merger of banking with the internet. The internet is a network of interconnected computers using the same common language, and the blockchain ledger can be viewed as a specific language on the internet that all computers must use to be able to communicate and interact with the ledger. So now there's internet, but now we have a specific language on the internet, specific network of networks or a network of computers that are maintaining a specific set of rules to get the consensus. So in other words, it's like, languages are another country on this internet. So the internet can be viewed as the world, and now you have a network on there, or a country or a language that is going to be based on a set of rules or governance or government, which is just a blockchain ledger. So each blockchain can be viewed as an internet language of its own and is as global as a network. Some of them could be closed, some of them could be open, and some of them can interact with other ledgers, and some, decide not to. So our new abstraction, and trade charts now has the banks removed. So now we have abstraction 5. Let's put this in like this, bigger. So abstraction 5, we have individual 1 puts an effort, gets mud hut, goes to blockchain, goes to oranges. So now this is the blockchain. It was just, before it was money. Now it's just blockchain. There's no banks anymore. It's just blockchain. It goes to oranges. And individual 2, effort, apples, blockchain, mud hut, etc. So now we've removed the bank, and now it's become simpler. Simpler in terms of this organizational way, because we replaced the banking infrastructure with the blockchain infrastructure, which is just the internet. So level 5 trade is going to be blockchain. So individual puts an effort, object 1 goes to the blockchain, they can buy object 2. So you can trade on the blockchain. Individual, this individual 2. And here quickly just updated, just added the individual 1 and individual 2 there. So individual 1, effort, object 1, individual 2, effort, object 2, and now we just exchange with the blockchain. So blockchain is now money. There's no banking infrastructure needed. So note that these are the same as the quote level 2 money charts, except blockchain has replaced money. Because remember, blockchain is money is just an abstraction, and the conventional one is just traditional money. The traditional money is just government printed, and you got to follow their rules. But now blockchain is just whatever the rules of that particular blockchain that you're dealing with, and that's going to be the money, because it's all just a ledger of transactions where the token that you're using to maintain score on the ledger or the Monopoly deal game of life. So anyway, and with the removal of traditional money, so does the traditional infrastructure of money get removed also. The rulers get replaced with rules. So this was before the rulers, and they would make the rules of money, the printing, and so on. But now it's replaced completely with just a bunch of computer rules that you have to follow to use the blockchain. If you don't follow the rules, you can't use it. It's just a bunch of rules. So rules replace rulers, and the tokens of money are now condensed into a string of alphanumeric numbers that represent your wallet or blockchain bank and your private key or password. So basically a bunch of numbers represent your wallet or your bank account, your blockchain bank, and your private key is your password. Just to reiterate that. So now we have our goods and services table. Let's make it like this. The bigger CSV, we have our goods and services table. So we have your building mud hut. There's the apples, oranges phone, and then there is the knife, and you condense it. And then there's the blockchain infrastructure, just a computer, just a bunch of computers. And there's our tokenizer. Now it's digital. So our tokenizers become digital, and then you condense all this into tokens. And here's my addresses for XRP, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. So send me some if you want to donate. So convert your goods and services into tokens and donate to MES. And the link to these is mes.fm/donate as well, unless you want to just type it from the screen. So anyways, you're going further, and now you could, and securing large amounts of money on the blockchain can be done with a specialized USB stick or quote hard wallet that stores your private key. So you can compress all this fiat or just conventional traditional banking tokens into this blockchain. Blockchain tokenization into just a little tiny USB or a ledger like this, and this one just stores your private key. So it just stores your password so that you don't need to type anywhere, and this will keep it safe from anyone. And safe from the internet and so on. And so you can condense all this money. So you can have $1 billion into a little tiny USB stick. Now, if you want to buy one, if you want to buy one, and I recommend you do, if you want to get some crypto, please use my Ledger referral link. So there's a referral link there, and here's short URL mes.fm/nano, which is just this one there. And if you do buy one, just use my referral link. I get some cash. Anyways, you could also store your wallet on a piece of paper. Remember, it's just alphanumerical string of text. That's all it is. And later it's going to be higher level. You can have it just like for example, on the Hive blockchain, my account is just MES. You could just donate to MES on the Hive blockchain, which is my wallet. Which but beneath that has an actual alphanumeric address, but it's linked to the account. So anyways, going further. So this is just so the base of the wallet, all it is just a string of numbers and letters like that, but it's alphanumerical, so that these letters are also just part of a number system. So that means you can you can store your wallet on a piece of paper. So you can condense $1 billion, whatever this tokenization is, or whatever this is, instead of putting into a ledger, you can condense that all into a piece of paper. So this is a private key. This is how I found this online. You could probably do a search and to see how much money is inside this and how it's linked. This is a private key for this address right there. And yeah, so this could hold a lot of money maybe. And although blockchain tokenization removes the need for traditional banking, so remember the keyword is a need. You don't need traditional banking. It does not mean that the old infrastructure disappears, but rather it too will have to adapt and merge with the blockchain infrastructure. One such example is in the physical security infrastructure and overall insurance packages that banks can provide, which the average user is not currently knowledgeable of on their own, especially in the current transition phase. So yes, so a lot of people just be storing their crypto not too safely, relative especially to a bank, which already has a lot of mechanisms for security. So this is one mechanism. This is one example of banks merging with crypto. So now you can have a giant safe to store your piece of paper to make it super safe. And also they have insurance packages. So in other words, you can store it there, and there'll be insurance if you lose your crypto. They'll up to, for example, up to 360 million insurance covers. Crypto.com. Yeah. So now banks, everyone's becoming a bank. And so you could still be willing to use the traditional banking because of specific benefits such as this. So anyways, to be continued in part 3, architecture of control. So thus far we have mainly discussed the concepts of trade and its evolution and tokenization, but I've yet to address this starting question: what is going on? Especially nowadays, what in the world is going on here? So I was planning on discussing this question in this video, but the concepts of trade and tokenization was taking up more space than I had anticipated. So we will have to discuss this question in part 3. And this is a question that deserves proper attention because it is the question that every individual has to tackle for their entire lives, and especially in the current fast-moving and long-planned digital and physical merger that the world is being pushed towards. And yeah, so stay tuned for Blockchain, the Big Picture. Part 3 is going to be epic stuff. Anyways, that's all for today. Hopefully you learned and hopefully enjoyed my images. It took a lot of time, photoshopping these. Made them entertaining, to say the least. Pretty funny stuff. Anyways, let me know what you think, and like always, you can download these exact notes and link in the description below. And also, just use my Nano Ledger or my Ledger link, referral link if you do, and if you want to get some crypto, make sure to donate. You know what you do. Anyways, scroll up. This is actually real. Can't make this stuff up. And this too. And that too. And there's Quantamino Bay. Unbelievable. Anyways, let's keep going further. Scroll all the way back up. And yeah, so the links in the description below will be for the notes if you want to Hive blockchain or download them in PDF format and so on. And then in the later video, we'll discuss this something. Again, people do this for money because that's one easy example, easy thought that comes up. But again, money doesn't exist. Money is just an abstraction, again. And then people mistake that for actual objects. And then they would do a bunch of stuff. All right. And this is some interesting graphics. Anyways, that is all for today. Yeah, let's scroll all the way up. Let's see much more. It's a lot of images. All right, that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for another math easy solution.